Hello everyone, and welcome back to Slow Easy English. My name is Sil. Today I want to talk about the two words less and fewer. They have pretty much the same meaning, but they are used differently according to textbook grammar rules. Okay? So how do you use these two words differently? It can be sometimes a little bit confusing, but the general rule is non-count, so things that you don't count, water, salt, air, metal, plastic, these things are not countable, so I'm calling them non-count here. Things that you don't count, and also adjectives, are used with the word less. Okay? The word fewer is used with countable. Okay? Things that you can count. Countable items like chair, table, person, printer, train, car, truck, clock, star. Okay? So all of these things that you do count, we use the word fewer. Okay, so let me show you what I mean with some examples. Okay? So here I have less time than before. See, the word time is not something that you count, so we use the word less. I have less time than before. Now in this case, maybe I got a new job and I am busier than before, busier than I used to be, so I might say I have less time than before. You know, I have less time than I had before. So again, here we use less with the word time. Here, the second one, now with less sugar. That's not something you would normally say in conversation, not this way anyway, but you might see this on a product at the supermarket, maybe something that usually contains a lot of sugar, maybe sweets or desserts, and it's advertising a new product that has less sugar than before. So now with less sugar, okay, not fewer sugar, because sugar is something that you don't count. So less sugar. The third one, I want less rice and more meat. Okay, maybe my wife gave me a lot of rice and very little meat, and I want more meat and less rice. So I want less rice and more meat, please. Okay. Again, with rice we don't count, and we use the word less. Okay? This printer uses less ink. So if I'm comparing two printers, I say, oh, well, this printer is better because it uses less ink than this other one. Okay? So again, with ink, it's not counted, so we use the word less. Okay, now let's go to adjectives. Okay, so it's a little bit different here. Here the word less is used with things, nouns. But with adjectives, we also use the word less. We never use the word fewer. So for example, that chair is less comfortable. Again, I might be comparing two chairs, and this one's okay, but that one's less comfortable. So here, comfortable is not a thing, it's not a noun, it's an adjective. It describes something. So that chair is less comfortable. My TV is less expensive. Maybe less expensive than that one, or less expensive than yours, but my TV is less expensive. Again, expensive is an adjective. We use the word less. I feel less hungry on this new diet. Great, it's a good diet. So this person feels less hungry. Okay, hungry is not a noun, it's an adjective. So I feel less hungry on this new diet. Okay, now with countable nouns, we use the word fewer. There are fewer people this time. Maybe I'm at a restaurant and I notice that there are not many people today. Last week there were many people. So, there are fewer people this time. This dictionary has fewer words. Okay? Again, here we're comparing. We're always comparing two things, right? We're comparing now to the past, or we're comparing this thing and that thing. So usually it's always a comparison. So this dictionary has fewer words. Because words is something you count. 1 word, 2 words, 3 words, right? People, right? 1 person, 2 people, 3 people, 4 people. And the third one, my recipe has fewer steps. Again, 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, 4 steps. So we're counting steps. That recipe has 10 steps. My recipe has 6 steps. My recipe has fewer steps. Maybe it's an easier recipe or a simpler recipe. So this is how you use it. Very simple. No problem, right? Yeah. Okay, well, of course, if it were that simple, then maybe grammar would be easy. But learning English can sometimes be a problem because, as I often mention in my other videos, native speakers don't always follow the rules in the textbook. So what you can see, if you have ever been to the United States or maybe Canada, possibly England and Australia, I don't know, I've never been there, but I imagine they have the same thing, maybe. Anyway, in Canada and in the United States, this is very, very common. At a supermarket, they will have many checkouts, or a lot of checkouts, and at the one cashier, there will usually only be 1 or 2. If there's 10, then everybody with the big carts of food are in line and they will have to wait a long time. But then maybe there is what we call an express lane. So for people who have only a few items, and this is the sign that you will often see. 10 items or less. Okay, now if you notice here, item is countable. So 1 item, 2 items, 3 items, 4 items. So 10 items or less is actually a grammar mistake if you go according to the rules of the textbook. Okay, so again, I often talk about this and say, just because it's a mistake in the textbook, I don't consider this an actual mistake in the language. Okay, what the textbook says you should say and what people actually say are often different. And I think the way people actually speak, if everyone agrees, or if most people, or many, many, many people agree that it's okay, then it's okay. So in this case, 10 items or less. I have never seen a sign that says 10 items or fewer. I've actually never, at least I don't remember ever seeing that. Does it exist? Maybe, but I've never seen it. I have seen 10 items or less very often. And the funny thing is, until I started to teach English, I never thought of this at all as being wrong. It just never even occurred to me that it might be wrong. Until I started to teach English and pay closer attention to what the textbook says is correct English. The other thing too is, yes, we use this in supermarkets, we have this. However, also in conversation, a lot of people use the word less with countable nouns. Is it wrong? Well, the textbook says it's wrong, but most people don't pay attention and don't really, or don't notice and don't really care. So if they don't notice that it should be a mistake, then I think that that's what the language really is. So you might hear, actually you will, if you speak English with native speakers, I guarantee you will hear, and it won't take a long time, you will hear people say things like, you know, they're actually, they would even make a second mistake and say there is, or there's, and they would say there's less people here this time, you know, or there's less people this time, something like that. There are less people this time. That, I'm sure you'll hear that. There's less people this time would probably be even a little bit more natural. At least in casual conversation, it would be very natural. I guarantee you will hear that. And if you use it, it's probably okay. This dictionary has fewer words. I'm sure that if I asked, you know, native speakers, 100 native speakers to compare two dictionaries, I would hear this dictionary has less words very often. I know I would. So again, if you want to speak like a textbook tells you should, then watch the grammar rules. If you want to speak like a native speaker, then don't worry. Either way, you will hear this from native speakers. My recipe has fewer steps. My recipe has less steps. It doesn't sound very, I mean, to me, because I'm thinking about it now, yeah, it sounds a little bit off, but in the real world, when I'm not teaching English, it doesn't sound off, it doesn't sound strange. So I guarantee you that you will hear that. So, in conclusion, my message here is, don't worry about that too much, really, because it's something that we often do. Again, you have to think about your situation. If you are with people who do care, then pay attention. Use these words differently. But if you're in casual conversation and the people that you're with don't care, don't notice, then go ahead and use the word less, even with countable nouns. It'll make you sound more like a native speaker sometimes. Okay? So that's it. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them, write them in the comments section. If you like this video, please click the like button and subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe so that you get all my future videos as well. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.